Welcome everyone to the Moisky News for June the 5th, 2020. Before we start, there is a political recap stream here tonight, 9:30pm GMT. But also, today marks the 5-year anniversary of my main channel's existence, in that I uploaded there 5 years ago today. I'm doing a stream there at 8pm GMT. If you're at all interested in just some banter, Q&A and other bits, swing by. Link below. Many of you will have noticed I didn't do a PMQ response video on this channel or live stream. There's a reason for it. It's still incredibly boring. So it isn't just that it is incredibly dull, but to be honest, only one thing actually took my eye, and it wasn't Keir Starmer finally going on the offensive, which did mark a real and genuine change in tactic, but it was still incredibly dull regardless. No. It was Boris's ear cavity that took my interest. Many Labour MPs have gone on to accuse Boris Johnson of receiving aid from Dominic Cummings via this, what looked like an earpiece. Others have pointed out that since he didn't do so well, I graded it a C- from him, it could have been a gaping chasm instead. An official spokesman for this has said it is fair to say the Prime Minister was not wearing an earpiece. Feels like shots fired. A number of detractors of this would include Steve McCabe, who said sort of thing our politics doesn't need, especially at this time, would be better for the Prime Minister to clear it up immediately. With regards to the earpiece, Bill Esterson, suggestions that Boris Johnson had an earpiece in for PMQs. If he was receiving help, it didn't show. He was as useless as ever in response to calm, sensible scrutiny from Keir Starmer, forgetting that they are two vastly different people. Boris is known for his bluster. He is known for doing that because it's a part of who he is. He doesn't ditch it to be sensible, although I would argue his answers were still fairly sensible. He just gave his usual bluster, which made it look like he wasn't giving a sensible answer. And Rachel Swindon, was Boris Johnson actually wearing an earpiece during PMQs, or are we about to get some nonsense about his heroic battle with coronavirus leaving him hard of hearing? There is actually more to this, because this is not the first time that Boris Johnson has been accused of wearing an earpiece. During a 2019 general election debate, many viewers complained because they believed that Boris Johnson was being fed answers during the debate. Boris, though, said it was flappy ear skin. Right. Okay. For this to be true, we have to understand what is wrong with Boris's ears, because there is actually something to this. The Prime Minister has a prominent crus helix, which is a thick chunk of cartilage that stretches across the concha, which is the hollow part next to the ear canal. What's interesting with this also is that Boris Johnson was, and this is known, deaf until the age of 8 because of a condition called glue ear. This condition is where the ear fills with fluid. Basically, his ears are ruined anyway. So perhaps now would be a good time to address what actually transpired in the PMQs. I'm not going to go through the questions, don't worry, I'll save you that. So Keir Starmer attacked the Prime Minister over the government's testing, the TRACE programme, decisions to reopen schools and transparency, along with other key aspects of the government's coronavirus response. Basically, a failed system that crashed immediately, which is the track and trace, and hindsight, because apparently that's what we need right now. Boris Johnson responded, for the most part, by accusing Sir Keir Starmer of simply attacking public trust and confidence. So this dramatic shift in going from largely constructive to the crisis to date, which is what Keir Starmer did, is quite the shift in PMQs, which could make things more interesting, but I think it makes things more interesting when there are more people in the chamber. It is worth pointing out somebody did in fact on Twitter try and reach out to Sir Lindsay Hoyle, who is the Speaker of the House of Commons, saying, "Dear Speaker, allegations have been made that Boris Johnson was wearing an earpiece at PMQs. This is in contempt of Parliament, as set out in Erskine May's as improper influence. Your move," which is Parliamentary Code of Conduct. Therefore, he thinks he's scored some win here. But that's not the case. I personally don't believe Boris was wearing an earpiece, not just because of how badly he performed, but because we've seen his ear like this before. The only reason you don't usually see his ears is because he's got that mop on top. and he only once actually trimmed it to make it look like it was moderately tidy, and that was for his parliamentary photo when he became Prime Minister. I personally doubt, that he'll bother clearing it up afterwards, because when you think of Boris Johnson, you think of messy mop. Others, quite rightly, use memes for this, and I love the memes. They make this more interesting, with someone going so far as to set up a Twitter account just for Boris's earpiece. Right. Well, anyway, I don't think that there was anything in his ears, and there are rules for electronic devices in the Commons. It is a breach of the rules to use electronics to take instruction from outside the Commons while in the chamber. That comes from 2011, but it was amended then also to allow handheld devices like phones and tablets, provided they are silent and used in a way which does not impair decorum, so no selfies. In Erskine May's notes, it says the Speaker has regularly deprecated the failure of members to turn off mobile phones or other devices which may give rise to disturbance, and listening to a message is unacceptable. Granted, it had to be updated a little bit because I don't think anyone had a PDA back then. With all of this, I very much like to know what you think about it. Do you think Boris was wearing an earpiece? Is this now Eargate? Oh, dear Lord. Please do let me know in the comments down below. If I don't see you tonight, either on my main channel or here, have a cracking Friday and subsequent weekend.